Have you ever watched a loved one who still seemed like themselves, yet began doing things that were strangely out of character? Have you wondered what tiny moment opens that painful doorway where memories fade and confusion begins to creep in? I did not realize it until one day when my mother put the TV remote in her purse instead of her phone. In that instant, I knew something was not right. But that was only the beginning. My mother is a meticulous woman. Her entire life, she never left the house without a tissue or knowing where her purse was. And yet, within 2 weeks, she started losing that sharpness, leaving her purse at the bakery, then going back to accuse them of stealing it. One day she had her purse, but inside there were no cards, no cash, nothing but a single teaspoon. If you think memory loss happens suddenly, one clear, downward slide, you might want to think again. Sometimes it arrives quietly like a whisper of wind, weaving through small actions we often dismiss. And then one day you realize, the mother who raised you is now slowly losing herself. In this video, I will share the first 3 signs, 3 strange things my mom did with her purse. They were not dramatic, but they were the clearest warnings of a disease that so many people are living with, completely unaware. If you are living with aging parents, if you have seen them anxiously look for their purse or do something a little odd that you just brushed off, then this is a story you need to hear, because what starts with a purse could be the earliest message that dementia is approaching. Stay with me until the end of the video, because the last sign, the one that seems so small, was what made it impossible for me to deny the truth any longer. If you have gone through something similar, please leave a comment below. Your story could be a huge comfort to someone else who feels as lost as I once did. Now let's get into the 3 seemingly small incidents that completely changed how I saw my mother. Sign 1, putting strange objects in the purse like a TV remote or cutlery. You would never think a 74-year-old mother, a lifelong librarian, would put the TV remote in her purse instead of her phone. But that is exactly what I witnessed. That day I saw my mom getting ready to go out, purse in hand, coat neatly on. When I asked, "Mom, do you have your phone?" She smiled and held up the black remote. Her eyes still had their confident sparkle, as if nothing was unusual. My heart sank. I knew this was no longer ordinary forgetfulness. We often joke, "I misplace everything," or "I'm getting old, so I'm forgetful." But when a person who once organized everything perfectly now puts a small knife in her purse, it cannot just be about age. That is when memory no longer clearly distinguishes between kitchen utensils and personal items, between the kitchen and the living room, between a normal morning and between a silent turning point in the brain. In the early stages of dementia, the part of the brain responsible for sorting and categorizing information starts to weaken. The person may not be able to tell what needs to be brought along from what belongs in a fixed place. The confusion comes not just from poor memory, but from the brain's fading ability to organize, something you once did unconsciously. I remember my mom opening her purse at the supermarket to pay, but instead she pulled out a paring knife. She looked at me, then at the cashier, both of us stunned. I gave a nervous laugh while my mom bit her lip, her eyes filled with confusion that quickly turned to suspicion. That was no longer cute confusion. It was a sign, a very clear one. From one misplaced item, we began to notice other irregularities. My mom making coffee with fish, or storing her toothbrush in the refrigerator. Each small act, when viewed alone, might be dismissed. But when connected, they formed a silent but persistent chain of signals. Her memory was changing. And no one can ignore it forever. If you have ever found something out of place in a loved one's purse, a remote, a small knife, or even a sock, do not dismiss it. Step back, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, is this a one-time thing or the first alarm bell? Because if that action repeats, you might be standing at the first door to dementia. And as I learned, that door does not close by itself, but you can be the first to notice and speak up. Sign 2, forgetting where the purse is and constantly blaming others for it being lost. At first, I just thought my mom was being absent-minded. She would search for her purse all over the house, tossing pillows, opening every kitchen cabinet, then say irritably, "Someone took my purse." I would walk into the room and see the purse sitting right on the microwave, a place she had not put anything but food for decades. I would say softly, "Mom, your purse is right here." She would freeze, her eyes staring, then mumble, "How strange." Once could be forgetfulness, but when it happened day after day with the same script, search for the purse, not find it, then assign blame, it was no longer a small thing. My mom began not only to forget where she put her purse, but also to lose the ability to connect short-term memory with the reality before her. Instead of asking herself, "Where did I put it?" she defaulted to a defensive reflex. Someone must have taken it. Many older adults assign blame because they do not want to admit they are forgetting. It comes not from stubbornness, but from a very human fear, the fear of no longer controlling the world around them. When memory begins to falter, people tend to find external reasons to cover up the internal feeling of chaos. It is a self-defense mechanism, and sometimes a very fragile one. I remember one afternoon, Mom was getting ready for a doctor's appointment. She searched for her purse for nearly an hour, tearing the house apart. Finally, she turned to me, her voice stern. "You must have taken it somewhere yesterday and not told me." I smiled, but my heart ached, because her purse was in the freezer next to a carton of ice cream. If you see your loved one constantly assuming someone took my things, try not to get frustrated. It could be a silent call from a memory that is losing its way. When they cannot remember the process, where they put the purse at what time, their brain can no longer perform a logical search. Losing a purse is no longer a simple matter. It is about losing control over memory itself. What I learned is not to argue, slow down and gently find it together, not just the purse, but each piece of their memory. Every time I would hold my mom's hand, smile, and say, "It's okay, Mom, we'll find it together." And you know what? When you become a partner instead of a corrector, your loved one will feel safer. And in their increasingly confusing world, that feeling of safety is more precious than any explanation. If you are still watching and finding this helpful, please comment with the number 2 below to let me know. And if you have not already, I would encourage you to subscribe and then hit the notification bell so you do not miss new videos. Your support helps us continue creating more helpful and inspiring content. Sign 3. Carrying a purse but forgetting to put the necessary items inside. One day my mom left the house with her purse held firmly in her hand. She looked neat and put together as always. But when it was time to pay at the pharmacy, she fumbled through her purse and then whispered to me, "I forgot to bring any money today." I opened her purse for her. Inside were only 2 tissues and a mint. No cards, no ID, and certainly no cash. I was silent. Mom turned away, her face flushing. That is a very specific kind of forgetting, when someone remembers to bring the purse but forgets what should be inside it. It is as if the brain is still running on old habits, but the logic and detailed planning part has started to lose its signal. This happens when short-term memory and the brain's planning ability are affected, one of the earliest and most common signs of dementia. That feeling is so strange. You think you have prepared carefully, but when you need it, nothing is there. For my mom, this did not just happen once. One day she took her purse to the market, opened it, and found a notebook and an old birthday card. Another time she meant to pull out her insurance card at a doctor's visit, but instead handed the nurse a small calendar. Familiar items were replaced by unrelated things, as if memories were being randomly swapped out. I know many people would be embarrassed in that situation, maybe even annoyed. But my friend, if your loved one starts carrying a purse that is empty, they are not being careless. Their brain is struggling to hold on to what is important, what should be brought along. They are carrying a habit, but no longer carrying intention. That confusion does not just cause inconvenience. It also makes older adults gradually lose faith in themselves. My mom started going out less. She was afraid of forgetting something again, afraid of being watched, afraid of having to explain. After those times, I started preparing a small envelope inside her purse. Inside was her ID card, a few bills, and a simple note. "If you need help, Mom, please call me at this number." I did not say much. I just did it quietly as a way to let her keep her freedom without feeling confused. And if you are caring for an older adult, pay attention to the purse, not for its monetary value, but because it says so much about their memory, organizational skills, and what is left of their confidence. An empty purse might point to a mind that is slowly emptying, but with a little care from you, that purse can once again be filled with what truly matters, a sense of security. We have just reviewed 3 seemingly harmless actions with a purse that were actually the first signs of an undercurrent called dementia. From putting in a TV remote, to forgetting its location and blaming others, to carrying it while it was empty of essentials, all were like small puzzle pieces connecting to form a very real and very sad picture. If you have ever seen your loved one do similar things, please do not just think they're old so they forget. Sometimes it is the quiet knock at the door from a disease without color, without scent, but with enough power to fade a lifetime of memories. I know it is hard to accept when the person who taught you to tie your shoes, who walked you to your first day of school, now does not know where their own purse is. But my friend, just like me, you can become their companion instead of their corrector. A gentle look, a soft reminder, a small note in their purse. Sometimes that is the life raft that keeps them from drifting away from themselves. The good news is that you are here, you are listening, and you want to understand more, and that alone is a priceless gift for the person you love. Now, I want to invite you to take a minute and ask yourself, in recent situations, has anything made you feel worried about your loved one's memory? Have you ever found something strange in their purse? Have they ever blamed someone for a missing item that was actually just sitting in a drawer? If so, please share your story in the comments. Your experience could be the guiding light for another child, just as lost as I once was. And if you found this video helpful, please subscribe and share it with anyone who needs to hear this. Your support helps me continue to tell real stories, to voice unspoken worries, especially for our elders and those who quietly love them. Thank you for staying until the very end. I hope you will always be strong enough to look into your loved one's eyes and gentle enough to hold their hand when memory begins to fade. See you in the next video.